This is the budget hearing for the Department of Engineering. My name is Counselor Michael Green. I'm joined by Counselor Steve Thompson, Counselor Joe Driscoll, and then a few of our colleagues will be coming in. So why don't you guys start by introducing yourselves and just give a general overview of your budget.
Sure. I'm Mary Robison, City Engineer. This is Maria Vigigliotti, our Fiscal Officer. I have Mark Romano, Division Engineer of Mapping and Surveying, John Kivelhan, Division Engineer of Design and Construction, and Kelly Haggerty, Division Engineer of Buildings. Would you like to go over the budget changes first?
Sure.
On page 136, which is our list of positions, there is one modification to the budget, and that is that the fiscal officer, Maria, is being transferred to the purchase department. So there will not be a fiscal officer in engineering, and the total staff will reduce from 26 to 25.
Can you explain why?
The administration, you developed the Tiger team. Thank you. And they've created, well, actually, why don't you explain it?
The city is going towards more of a centralized financial system, so they're trying to centralize all the functions.
The money still comes out of your budget? The salary doesn't?
No,
The salary is basically transferred from my department to the larger purchase department. Right.
So the reimbursements from other funds, is that the school district or what is that?
Reimbursements of other funds is all our federal and state reimbursements for staff time on our TIP projects, the Transportation Improvement Program.
Okay.
And that's been pretty consistent the last few years.
So, you know, the work that you guys do on behalf of the school district just comes from the city budget, but it's for the school district.
Correct. We spend a significant amount of time on the Joint Schools Construction Board, but none of that time is reimbursable. Apparently, we can't charge staff time to the bonds. School district's not getting reimbursed either.
Sorry, I don't quite understand. Can you explain that a little bit more to me? So, your staff spends the time on the JSCB stuff,
Yes.
but it's not reimbursed because it's bonded?
Yes, we can't charge city staff resources to, the project's all funded with bonds, and apparently that's an ineligible expense towards a bond.
Oh, yeah, because it's probably staffing and stuff. Okay.
But put another way, the school district, which could have its own in-house engineering, doesn't. They rely on the city of Syracuse to provide that service for them.
Well, I think also the schools are all owned by the city, so it's a joint school construction board. We do, per the charter, we are supposed to be involved in all capital improvement projects. So, you know, we do have a responsibility to oversee.
What % of your time would you say is spent on the JSCB stuff? I'd imagine it's got to be a fair bit, right?
Yeah, I would say we have 3 people currently spending time on it. I would say it's roughly, Kelly might be a little higher. I'm probably around 40%. Kelly, are you 50? 75? Kelly's around 75. And Matt's probably 50. So between 40% for me, 75% for Kelly, and 50% for our third engineer.
Okay. Thank you.
Otherwise, there's not really any significant changes. I can report on the vacancies. We still have 6 vacancies. However, per our proposed budget, one of the vacancies is only going to be half funded and one vacancy is partially funded. We have advertised for a facilities engineer and a civil one. We've just received some resumes, so we're gonna be going through the resumes and hopefully be able to hire a couple people. We're always in search of them. That's one of our biggest challenges, is getting someone with the talent who will, you know, take the salary and the residency requirements.
How are you doing on capacity at the moment?
Right now it's pretty tough. We're reactive rather than proactive, I would say.
And do you feel, it's 2 staff members you're looking for?
Currently, we've advertised for two staff members, a facilities engineer and a civil engineer one.
And do you feel if you had that, I mean, obviously you'd be doing better, but do you feel like that would be adequate, or do you think you'd still need more?
Potentially need more, but I figured I'd start with that and move, you know.
And can you explain what?
If we find more people, you know, then we'll proceed with the process of, you know, filling additional spots. But at least that would sets the net out and see what we get in response, and then take it from there.
And for those of us who, I mean, we're not as familiar with your work as you are. What would the two hires do? Like, what do those job titles entail?
In terms of a civil engineer, one is more of an entry-level engineer, and they would be in the field doing inspections. They'd also be learning how to manage projects. A facilities engineer needs 2 years of engineering experience beyond college, and they would become project managers on the 2 positions I'm trying to fill are in design and construction, so they'd be involved in TIP projects and other city contracts.
So, what, with this percentage of time that you're spending with JSCJ, what are we losing from the city side that we would gain if you weren't doing that?
I think we'd be able to focus a lot more on other capital projects in the buildings division, such as parks projects, projects in City Hall Commons. Because it's all the buildings division. Actually, it's also design and construction. They helped with all the stormwater pollution prevention plan reviews for all of the schools, and we use them whenever there's a problem with the site work. They inspect the project occasionally. I also put together some information on what each of the divisions are working on, if you want to
Yeah, that would be great.
do that overview. Design and construction division, currently we have 12 projects in design, 9 projects in construction, with 2 of the 12 in design going into construction this season. We were able to be awarded 8 new grants for the total of $27.8 million. We also work on with the county on their green infrastructure projects in the city. You just approved the ordinance with the latest list, I think, at the last council meeting. The EPA did an audit on our MS4 stormwater requirements this past June, and we were just issued their findings in February, excuse me. So we have I guess technically we're under an administrative order, so we have to meet deadlines for answering all of their questions and requirements between now and October 1st. So we have 3 people working on that. We've pulled people from design and construction and building division to assist with that. It involves a lot of record documentation, inspection of our facilities, DPW, parks facilities, fire training center facility, and doing good housekeeping measures to clean up those sites so that there's no discharge to our inappropriate discharge to our storm sewers. So that's a big effort that we hadn't really planned on, but we need to do it, otherwise we potentially will be fined a lot of money. So
Could you explain the scope of that project a little bit?
the EPA audit,
Yeah.
it's basically, it doesn't apply to all the city. It only applies to portions of the city that have separate storm sewers. So the Meadowbrook area, northeast, near the lake, Inner Harbor area, and some other areas are impacted, and we need to basically clean up all our records and have clear, better documentation. In terms of DPW, like sweeping their streets, we have to figure out how many miles of street sweeping we do on the roads that are in the separated sewer area. So originally I thought that would be easy because we've put the GPS trackers on all the trucks, but I need to implement a procedure somehow to track the streets that are swept in the separated sewers, not all the miles of streets that are swept. So it's just pretty much a cumbersome process. DPW's facility a lot of it is tributary to the storm sewer. So their storage of materials has to be kept appropriately, their cleanup, protection on catch basins. Same with the Parks Department. Next to Spencer Street, they have the barn and some other storage facilities besides the office building. Just good housekeeping measures that need to be cleaned up and documented that we did all that work. So there is an expense to it. We're trying to do it as cost effectively as possible. So it's an expense in terms of our people hours and working on getting all this documentation and cleanup done, and also some materials, whether it be containers for our barrels that are inappropriately stored, or protection for our catch basins, and then continual maintenance to, replace the filters and make sure everything is kept clean. So in the end, I think it's a good thing. Yeah. DPW needs cleanup. Parks need some cleanup. So I think it's good, but the bad side is that we're on a time constraint. They are working with us. If we can demonstrate, that we need extra time and justify it, I think they will work with us. Mapping and Surveying Division is responsible for keeping all our mapping and surveying records. They also route all the permits through our office, which come from the Permit Control Office. I think the numbers last year, the Permit Control Office keeps track of all the permits. We don't review all permits, but they had over 900 permit numbers. So I would say we saw at least half of those, probably, roughly. Mapping and Surveying is also assisting with this EPA audit in terms of the mapping requirements that are required. They work with the street reconstruction program with DPW, surveying roads that need drainage improvements. They also do surveying for the Water Department and Parks Department, and all the various easements throughout the city. They participate in that process of reviewing the easements. Building Division, JSCB I touched on a little bit, but we currently have 7 schools in construction. Frazier's almost done, so that'll be 6 soon. But we have 2 high schools starting this month, pending closing on the bonds. Was that today? Yesterday. Nottingham and Corcoran will be starting. And we have 5 projects to be bid in the fall, winter of 1920.
Can I interrupt you there?
Sure.
Do you know, because I feel like the ground kind of shifts a little. Do you know, or does somebody know offhand exactly what's going to be done at Nottingham, the extent of the work that's being done and what's planned?
Kelly, do you want to speak to that, of what you know?
Oh, sorry, Kelly.
Got to come up to the mic.
Unfortunately, we're on candid camera, so you gotta.
Kelly Haggerty, Division Engineer of Buildings. Nice and loud. Okay.
Jacked.
So Nottingham, when the bids came in, we did not have enough money to accept a lot of the alternates. So some of the work that was described is not going to be done.
How about the HVAC?
That's basically, we're spending most of the money on that. They're going to be air conditioning, and air quality is going to improve. That was one of the major things that we focused on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you know? What else is there? Anything else getting covered?
Oh yeah. Yep. They're gonna. Yes. They're gonna be. Let's see. We're doing.
What about the locker rooms?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Actually, you know what? I can send you guys a list.
Yeah, that would be
because
good.
the alternates, some were.
Yeah, I know when we always have the initial pitch, you know, things change as they go along with what's available and what's possible.
Sure.
So I just like to know exactly what's
Yep.
going to happen at Nottingham. If
So we can do that for Nottingham and Corcoran, which those are the next two.
Okay.
So we can send you for both of those.
I'm mostly concerned with Nottingham.
I know.
Hey.
I care about Corcoran too.
So I'm assuming that there's some work on their sewage problems as well at Nottingham? Aware of the basement issues they have at Ham?
I don't. Not that I know of.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have some sewage problems.
Yeah, some other problems I won't even say it on the microphone. I'll whisper it to you. They have some real issues there. I coached JV football there, so I had to experience a lot of it. And I was surprised that the school was that bad, to be quite honest. It's probably the worst of all the high schools, so structurally and otherwise, I just want to put that out there.
All right. So I'll send you a list of both of those schools.
Please,
and
thank you.
what's in now that we know what we accepted.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Well, Mary, still
Then
going through our list. I think I covered
Outside
it
of JSCB, we also, Building Division also has 6 projects in design, and 6 projects in construction, and 4 of the 6 projects in design we hope to bid and start this year as well.
all. Those are all JSCB or
Non-JSCB.
non-JSCB. Sorry.
Yep, so that's an additional 12 non-JSCB projects, either in design or construction.
Anybody else?
Anyone else?
No questions.
Okay. All right.